We have 4 people here today, as you can see. One of our guests is Amin Soleimani. We can come here to the space. Woo. Thank you for being here. He's the founder of onchain, the co-creator of Moloch DAO, and the founder of Reflexor Labs. And he helped create High, the stablecoin. He was also an early contributor to Tornado Cash and has been deeply involved in the fight for financial privacy in crypto. So please welcome with an applause. Next up is Arnaud Schenk, who brings his perspective as the co-founder of Aztec. We heard Bala earlier, and now we have Arnaud. He's working in what might be one of the most essential things, that is making privacy possible on blockchains. So he's also the executive director of Aztec Foundation. And, well, that is kind of him. Please, another applause for him. Next up, we have Pablo Sabatella. He's going to bring the security angle to this talk. He's the founder of OPSEC, and he's working with SEAL, the Security Alliance for Blockchain, and also the Optimism Security Council, and has hosted many conferences and is the host of Blockchain Security Series. So he has a lot of insights on if what we are building it's like really secure, or also like are we just making promises, like actual implementations. So, round of applause. And moderating this conversation is Tadeo from Lido. I'm going to fall off the stage. He describes himself as a full-time pessimist, so that's kind of why I chose him too. His experience also with MakerDAO and with Spark has positioned him to like perfectly guide this conversation and ask like what's real versus what's not in crypto. So thank you for being here, and let's start.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Olo. Hi, everyone. Lovely to be here. So, for better or worse, we have not prepared anything for this panel. This is us letting off some steam, just connecting with ourselves. I, as Lolo said, am fairly pessimistic, so I'm going to take that the panel into a pessimistic side. But if any of our lovely speakers wants to bring a bit more upbeat point, would be very much welcomed. I want to start with what we consider to be the foundational elements of blockchain, but particularly Ethereum, and how we're, in a way, gone straight away from that, and we're not really pushing to actually embed those in a granular level. And I know, Amin, you've been vocal about this, so I want to start with you, with the idea of credible neutrality, and we can, rather than say that Ethereum is credibly neutral, we can say it's fairly credibly neutral. Take it away.
Yeah, okay, great. Let's jump right in. So, credible neutrality. Raise your hands if you've heard this buzzword before. Credible neutrality. Okay, most of you. The idea is that like no one has control over the blockchain, and so you know, one group of people can't basically impose their will on another group of people. And I mean, the most recent meme I posted about this was when North Korea hacked Bybit for $1.5 billion. I posted the trade agreement meme. And it's like, North Korea gets $1.5 billion and Ethereum gets credible neutrality. You know, great trade. There are actually ways in which credible neutrality can be attacked and the blockchain can get captured. And the people who talk about how credibly neutral the blockchain is maybe don't talk about these risks as much as I think they should. And the one that I like to bring up the most is that stablecoin issuers have an enormous, basically, power over controlling the way that the blockchain can go. If in the future they ever decide to flex this power, you could see them in real time propose hard forks that censor theft or transactions. And so you can imagine a future situation where something 10 times worse than the Bybit hack happens, but the stablecoin issuers, Tether and USDC, who collectively have like $200 billion or something of value, they say, hey, look, we're just going to fork and we're only going to redeem USDC and Tether on the chain that rolled back this hack. And they might do this for a good reason, right? Because they don't want a hack to go through, they want to save some people's money. But if they do that, then everybody else who builds on top of those things, we all have DeFi. You have MakerDAO, has money in banks, it has a peg stability module. You have Aave. Basically, all of DeFi gets to choose. Do I want to exist in the version of the blockchain where all my dollars went to zero, everybody gets liquidated, it's a huge mess, or the version of the blockchain where the dollars are still a dollar? And that gives them a lot of power. So credible neutrality is maybe more of a meme than anything else.
Yeah, I will say my biggest frustration in crypto over the years is that there's been just a failure of noticing in practice how much it's a place and a culture, not just a technology. And I think that there's some memes that if you ask people in crypto, they feel really, really central to what crypto is. But actually, if you dig down with 10 different people, you'll get about 10 different answers about what they are. For example, trustlessness, what exactly does that mean? It's like this underdefined, murky meme that I think we should get rid of. And credible neutrality, I think, fits in this bucket of these words that have that started off meaning something a little bit ambiguous, and then that the community has taken a hold of and actually used as a blocker for growth of the space. I guess practically what I mean is I think credible neutrality as a goal. So we build a privacy protocol. The protocol that we're building is going to be fully permissionless, and I think it's really important that we have the credible claim if someone comes to us that is just anti-privacy, not who wants to do not a bank who wants to say I don't want to associate with North Koreans, but like a government that actually just wants to spy on people. I think it's very important for us to have a way to say we don't control this protocol, we can't do anything for you. But at the same time, I think it's everyone in this room, me included, I joined crypto because it represented a vision for the future, right? It represented a thing, a place, a way to head out of the current molasses. And unfortunately, enacting that vision for the future requires acting on all layers of the stack, right? Not just the technology layer, not just the legal, regulatory layer, but also the social layer, the physical layer. It's why something like Aleph and Crecimiento are so interesting to me. And when I think credible neutrality went from just these words into this shibboleth, right? Like this thing that people hold and argue with a meme every day about on Twitter, they cannot not treat it as a taboo. When that transition happened, we suddenly just kind of let go of developing institutions that were crypto native. And I think as a result, people don't want to move to crypto, right? I think that's the existential risk, is that we kind of take these early words and confuse them with values and ultimately make crypto someplace that people don't want to live. So I agree with Amin.
Yeah. Something that I think was key when blockchain technology started was, it was not Bitcoin didn't have privacy, right? But I think that privacy and security are key things or standards that we should have. And nowadays, if you analyze 99% of people in crypto, 99% of people here, they don't care about privacy. They don't care about security. Our privacy and our security sucks. I think that as an industry, from the security point of view, we are kind of a joke. Yesterday, I was doing some research on the 15 biggest heist robberies in the history of humankind. And from the top 10, the first 5 ones are all crypto, right? So we have the blockchain is the technology, whatever, but we don't know how to use the tool, right? So I think that my point of view regarding to going a bit to basics is, from a point of view, we should create tools that are easy to use by people and that when you use them, you're using them in a safe way. But on the other hand, I think that we should all get back a bit to learning and understanding a bit what we are using, how this tool should be used, and how to use it securely, right? Because I think that, and a small example, if someone has some money in MetaMask, they get infected and they lose their money, it's a pain in the ass for that person. But on the other hand, something like what happened to Safe, like because of the fact that one dev got compromised, you get $1.5 billion stolen. It's more than a joke. I don't know what is that, but it's a very, very bad sign for the industry. And in fact, I think that if the, let's say, operational security or security standard, whatever of the industry, doesn't evolve in the next 2 or 3 years, that I think I'm completely secure that the whole industry will be a fail, right? Because what does an external person from the industry think when they see, hey, yeah, in one day, $1.5 billion was stolen from this company, and there's nothing that you can do about that? For someone that does not understand, it's a disaster. And for someone that understands, I think that it's worse.
It's dark and there's darker. Arnaud?
I think to piggyback on the security front, I want to separate security and privacy. And you started off saying like no one cares about privacy. I think that the truth is like no one cares about privacy for the useless shit that blockchain has been constrained to over the past decade. And I think, unfortunately, it's circular, where blockchains have been constrained to useless shit because there's a lack of privacy. I think there's essentially no one here who would appreciate me coming up to them and telling them to show me their emails, right? I mean, maybe you have a kink and maybe you're a little bit fucking weird, but like, I would predict most people wouldn't like that. But we don't do emails on blockchain. We do things that don't matter. And then on the security front, I obviously agree. I think given the complexity of our stack at Aztec, I think it's something that's top of our mind a lot of the time, of not only security for ourselves, but our users, et cetera. But I do think that part of the design space to explore beyond just tooling, beyond just education, is what I was referring to earlier of the way you solve these things outside of blockchain is partly through institutions that are not at the technology level, right? And those are institutions that needs to abide by the kind of norms and the expectations of whatever space they're instantiated in. And I don't think the current set of institutions that we have are particularly well adapted to a post-internet, post-crypto world. But that shouldn't lead us to say like institutions outside of technology are useless and we should never try to create better ones. So yeah, there's definitely going to be institutions that I think we need to grow the balls to develop around prevention and around enforcement and around error correction when something goes wrong. Even an institution as simple as just insurance, right, for people, for regular people, for their deposits in their wallets. And we know that can be done because the world outside of blockchain seems to have figured some of that out.
I want to talk about privacy. As you mentioned, you're developing a privacy blockchain. Amin is working on a privacy protocol. We all use Gmail, that we know that Google mines for data. We all use bank accounts that we know that both the bank and the government have full access to. Rather than asking you why I should care about privacy, because I think it's pretty overdone, is apart from like a massive failure from a totalitarian government taking control of people's means of like communication, what do you think is the tipping point for people to actually care about enough to actually start using these tools over their counterparts?
From my perspective, the drive that I experience building what we're building is just a feeling of complete alienation from any like currently defined jurisdiction that I'm a part of. Like, I live in the UK. I do not feel connected to my neighbors. I certainly do not feel connected to the UK government. Most of my friends are spread between the UK, the US, France, Argentina. Like, they're not in one particular jurisdiction that's easy to define. The apps that I use and the technology that I use are largely largely exist in a jurisdiction that I have no agency over at all, which is the US. And that, to me, is the drive towards something like Ethereum. To me, Ethereum is just the first jurisdiction that is actually adapted to the world as it has started to exist since the late 90s. And so, like, why would people adopt privacy? Because they need privacy to adopt Ethereum, because Ethereum doesn't work as a fully transparent, like, enforced transparency system. And why do people want to adopt Ethereum? Because the world has fundamentally shifted over the past 35 years, and no one has really reckoned with that.
I mean,
Yeah, so, I mean, I like memes, so I posted another meme that was like, Amin tries to do payroll on the blockchain, and it's the dominoes, and the top domino is like, the US Supreme Court decides on the fate of privacy for all Americans. And it do be like that, because when I started, promoting Tornado Cash, we were all jealous of Zcash. We saw that and we were like, damn, this is amazing. Zcash is a, anonymous money protocol. It's like a fork of Bitcoin. And we were like, this is incredible how people don't have to reveal their entire balance and their entire transaction history anytime they send or receive money from anyone else. Incredible. And we want one. And so we got together and we were like, all right, what's the minimum viable, product for this? And Tornado Cash was the second production deployment of zero-knowledge proofs in human history. And it was on the EVM, the first on the EVM. And it allowed you to, deposit 1 ETH, 10 ETH, 100 ETH. And I used it for payroll and, for Spang chain models and things like that. And Vitalik, being the hero that he is, used it to, send money to Ukraine to support them without the Russians, figuring out how much money he had sent to the Ukrainians. So everything in between that is, a viable use case for this privacy technology. And I think it's just going to keep zero-knowledge systems are actually a fundamental upgrade in privacy tech that has never before been possible. All of the other ways that people have done privacy so far is I'll run my money through Coinbase, or some other exchange. And that doesn't really work because I can go to any support engineer at Coinbase and bribe them a couple $1,000s and get the entire transaction history for anybody on their platform. They all have access. So having privacy where literally no one can actually break it is a fundamental advancement for humans. And so I'm optimistic that sorry I broke the theme of the panel, but I'm optimistic that we're all exploring these types of things. I think they're really important. Yeah.
And no one can break it. And the person who builds the platform that you use can also set expectations, set rules, set norms as to how their platform can be used. And I think that's, and I know Amin gets in trouble literally every day. I'm very grateful for him taking all the flack. But you have to reckon not just that there's these shadowy figures called compliance that want to destroy everything good in the world. But normal people, normal businesses want to be able to think about how their businesses will be used. And if you have the perfect absolute privacy system, unfortunately, it's going to be a shit system because no one's going to use it. And I think it's really important that zero-knowledge proofs give you that programmability. So yeah, I just wanted to append that.
Yeah, I'll also add privacy is not only for money too. Privacy is also for democracy, right? You don't want your votes to be public. It would be dope if I could have a voting system that I trust, and we already actually have these things, where we can all vote anonymously And there doesn't need to be like somebody who's counting the votes because we trust the blockchain to tally the votes. But that I voted, how I voted are private, but the final tally is public, and we all trust the math and trust the final tally. And that's a really powerful thing that doesn't get enough attention because these types of tools can upgrade democracy.
Yeah, something that I'd like to add here is that usually in security we have an issue with privacy. I think that privacy is normal. Everybody should have privacy. Whenever we do audits or we create content or wherever we say you should have privacy, we need to have privacy protocols and all that. But what issue did we used to have, security researchers? There was some hack, and then that money being stolen by North Korea, for example, was, laundered, let's say, or put through Tornado Cash, right? So we couldn't follow the trace, right? And that was a problem for us. So something that, when I read it, my head was like exploded, was this concept of proof of innocence. I don't know if you know it. I think that it was the first time that it was written about that was in the Privacy Pools paper. Basically, the concept is allowing people to have privacy, right? But at the same time, saying, let's say that you have Tornado Cash, right? And you have 10 people depositing there, but one of those 10 people is North Korea, right? So I deposit there just because I want to have privacy, but when I withdraw the money, I could have been the guy that deposited, right, from North Korea. So it's an issue because we are helping North Korea be able to move funds. So this concept of proof of innocence that is can exist thanks to zero-knowledge proofs allows you to basically say, okay, when I withdraw my money, I can prove you that I am one of these. Let's say that we have 100 addresses, and 99 of them are okay, but one is from North Korea. You can prove that your address belongs to this set of 99 addresses that are okay, right? So in that way, you can have both privacy and at the same time, you are not helping threat actors move the money. So those, I don't know if I explained it correctly. If not, you can correct me.
You're doing my job for me.
Nice. But I think that those kind of things are the key things where you solve these issues with a product in a very simple way for the user, right? It's very complex in the back, what they developed, but for the user and for the community, I think that that's one of the best things that happened to privacy in years.
There's like a progression here, right? It's like thesis, fully permissionless on-chain privacy. Antithesis, North Korea shows up with $300 million. Synthesis, everybody else can prove that they're not North Korea when they withdraw. And so I think that's what we're, in the aftermath of North Korea, they hacked a video game, Axie Infinite. It's probably on your list of top 10 hacks,
network,
right?
yep.
Why a video game had $500 million, I don't know. But they lost it. And North Korea got it, and then they started running hundreds of millions of dollars into Tornado Cash, and we're all like, oh, fuck. And then Tornado Cash got sanctioned. Alexei was arrested in the Netherlands. The cases are still ongoing. A year later, Roman was arrested. Cases are still ongoing. But in the aftermath of that, we were like, okay, let's come up with a new plan. And then Vitalik and I wrote a paper called Privacy Pools, about this concept of being able to prove that you're not some of the depositors as a way to, achieve compliance, but while preserving privacy. And this is also stuff that is uniquely unlocked by zero-knowledge proofs.
Sweet, awesome. Right, I do have a thing about whether the people here, the only people that care about this, is there anyone else outside of this room? And more importantly, are we going to piggyback on you to do all the work? And are you going to see this? Are you going to see the benefit of the work? Are we going to see this? Let's call it mainstream.
I hope you all care, but if you care, it's usually because you've lost something. It's like how I explain. I'm like, decentralization, maximalists are not born; they are made. Like. I was lucky enough to lose all my money in Mt. Gox. early on. And after that, I learned the motto, not your keys, not your coins. And I was like, oh, multi-sigs, you know, like DAOs, like not having all of the keys held in somebody else's custody and then getting wrecked. And I think the same path is true for privacy. People will appreciate privacy once like China and the Islamic Republic of Iran hack all of our bank accounts and reveal all of our financial information to the world. And then when governments realize that they can't actually protect the honeypots of data that they're accumulating, they'll ideally give citizens the right to defend ourselves. And the way we defend ourselves is we all have access to privacy tools such that these honeypots don't exist in the first place.
The way we started in 2017 was trying to build a platform to issue what we thought was the perfect asset to issue on Ethereum from like that is like a real world asset. And that asset is called like syndicated loans, big corporate debt. It meant that we could put these large loans on chain, not care about throughput of Ethereum, not care about fees, but there's like it's a decentralized set of issuers. So anyways, it to our eyes made a lot of sense. And we went to these potential customers and we explained how it worked and maybe the benefits of additional liquidity, of having one source of truth, of being able to plug that into what at the time were very, very early kind of pseudo DeFi protocols. And they were quite interested until we explained how Ethereum works, and then they told us to fuck off. And they told us to fuck off because you can imagine as a private debt fund who's competing against these 20 other private debt funds that do exactly the same undifferentiated thing as you, to have your whole portfolio, the terms of your loans, your trades, completely public is just absolutely a no-go, absolutely unacceptable. So it's always funny to me when this question comes up, and it has come up for about 8 years now, pretty reliably, of will people care outside of this? And again, I hit the same point that I hit in my first answer. The only reason people don't care about crypto is because crypto is not fit for purpose. And it's not fit for purpose because it doesn't give you the full set of affordances that we expect in every other area of our life, including like very, very flexible, easy to use privacy. And in the real world, it's usually like defined not as privacy, but just like I can think coherently as to who sees what I do, and I can think coherently about where my information goes, which you can't on a blockchain. You know, like this is something that Zuko used to throw around ages ago, but is still true. Technically, Ethereum is not GDPR compliant, right? And now I'm not a fan of GDPR at all. I don't want that to be the future of compliance or any of those things. But I do think it's important for us to reckon that it is literally not a fit for purpose system at the moment. So yeah, people do care.
Before Pablo, I'll let you speak. What I'm hearing is we should hack everyone, make them suffer, and then they'll on board.
Maybe
Totally,
not,
totally.
Who do you, maybe not we.
Someone.
Someone. No one.
Certainly not we. You guys, whatever, you know.
It's an exercise for the audience.
In fact, there was in some moment some project from some group of people that was about to hack people, but just get like one ETH from their wallet, send it to some place, and there they will contact you, and you will tell them, okay, this is why you should care about this, right? But generally speaking, what we are seeing today is that 99% of people in this ecosystem can lose their funds in one day, right? And one thing connected to what you were saying before, like, I don't know if you remember, I think it was Ethereum Argentina 2022, when Mariano Conti did this talk about decentralization doesn't matter until it matters. The same happens with privacy and with security. I always say that I was lucky. When I was 15 years old, I had a hacking and security website back in 1999. And I was hacked, right? By a guy that now is a very good friend of mine. And that day, in my defense, he's one of the top hackers in Latin America. But it was very easy how he did, social engineering. But what I want you to tell you is that, like Amin said, I think, nobody cares about security until the day that they open their laptop and your wallet is drained, right? Your Gmail account is gone, all your funds are gone. So I think that is changing a bit. We're seeing the last 6 months, like we have had so many security incidents that some companies are starting to learn from other companies, like, oh yeah, that could happen to me, and they are being proactive. So I think that people should do the same, right? And it's not so difficult. I mean, it's not that you need to have it in a state-of-the-art security stack. If you do just like 5 or 6 very simple things, you can avoid like 90% of stuff.
Great, I'll try to know how my seed phrase on my computer. With the
Please.
paper. I'm going to change a little bit. We are going to run over time, so I'm going to start bringing the topics I actually do care about. We are a minuscule industry, and we all like get around on Twitter to discuss and be very idealistic about things. We also do have that we know that public speak is very different to private speak, and that people that what they say don't act, and people that act don't really say. Don't really have a point on this. I just want to open with that and see what your take is. Are we becoming toxic? Is it just meaningless? And you might as well just like share posts on Twitter and keep on working.
People meet me in person. They're like, "You're so nice." Like shocked.
Once again, like, for this to work, it needs to be a place that people want to move to. Like, that's it, right? We can't succeed. And by the way, people have this expectation that when I say this, I mean like, okay, let's first build the utopia and then we'll have adoption. But that's wrong. The US didn't wait to be the modern US before people were desperate to move there. But the US had like a claim, right, around that it was the future. It was offering opportunity, a better life for your grandchildren. And I think if we consistently fail to reckon with that is the project of something like Ethereum, that is the claim that we need to be able to make, that if you move here, if you use these products, your grandchildren will have a better life. If we fail to reckon with that, then yeah, we're going to become irrelevant. I think the hangover of 2017, to me, is still what holds us back. Pre-2017, if you go read the 2014 Ethereum white paper, it is that, right? It is like, this is the solution to the disruptions of the internet. And then post-2017, we became such cucks. Like, honestly, we became so afraid of making any claims about why we were doing anything worthwhile. Because scammers and grifters had made some claims that they couldn't back up, right? And I think that that split the crypto community into two kind of groups: the like radical pragmatists, product people who just ended up at TradFi, right? They kind of built products that ended up doing nothing in particular because they just let the market tell them what to do. And then the nihilistic, the only thing that matters is memes. And it turns out over the past year and a half, those two groups have merged again, right? Where the nihilists have basically said, fuck it, meme coins. Like empty meme coins, that's what this industry is for. And the radical pragmatists looked at the market and they were like, you know what, we're gonna build like a really, really fucking awesome casino for meme coins. And what happened? It collapsed, right? Because that wasn't the future. I'm sorry, that wasn't what we signed up for in the 2010s. I think we need to reckon with the fact that we have run the course of the 2017 hangover, and maybe we can afford to be a little bit more idealist and pragmatic at the same time.
Yeah, I totally agree. I don't remember the original question, but related to this, I think that we always talk about adoption, right? And why the industry doesn't grow. I don't think the industry is growing right now. But if we look at the trend, many people that are like very important in the industry or many organizations have been systematically dumping shit on retail, right? We started with ICOs, they fuck all the retail. Then we have NFTs, they fuck all the retail. Then we have DeFi tokens, they fuck all the retail. Not like 100% of DeFi tokens, but 99.999, yep. And then the same with meme coins and everything, right? That I think that they're totally value extractive thing that it's useless, and people say no, but we onboard new people. You don't onboard new people with that. It's like Terra with UST. People that had their money and that money went to zero, they will never ever come back to the ecosystem. So I think that we should start thinking like, what should we create? I mean, we are a permissionless. We want to have a permissionless ecosystem, right? So everybody can do whatever they want. That's right. But I am not the same. Like we are not all the same. And I think that we should not promote that kind of stuff, because if we are permissionless, in my opinion, someone creating a meme coin with insider information and North Korea hackers hacking some exchange, they are nearly the same. For me, they are the same. Because at the end, you are extracting value. So I think that we should start thinking like this thing, right? Going back to why blockchain technology was created and how we can create real value for people and think a bit of long term and not always think like, okay, I want to create something and in 1 year I want to retire myself with $10 million in the bank.
The reason I'm personally here is because I think this next
very interesting podcast or the dream job for your life or the dream investment for your company, do not download shit, please.
Yeah, use multiple computers. If like don't use the one with your wallet for all the other things. Also, yeah. I'm sorry to skip Arnaud. I was just commenting on that, but the sign up. I would say this is a fun topic, right? Because it was like pessimism, and then Arnaud just kept being optimistic and just ruining the vibe. I would say like somewhere in between, like try to be realistic. Like don't let perfect be the enemy of the good. There's a lot of ways to like improve things. Like even something like Tether, which like could be construed as the like TradFi. It's all of this is just money in a bank account. But at the same time, like it's exporting dollars to a lot of people who need them. Like if you're a I don't know protester in Iran running around supporting women life freedom or something, you get caught without your hijab. It's like your bank account might get frozen. And so you might as well take your chances with like the weird shadow bank of the U.S. Than like the Islamic Republic banking system. And so like I used to be a lot more ideological in the sense that I was like that's backed by dollars in a bank. It's worthless. It's terrible. But like realistically, it provides value to a lot of people, and I think that's like worth thinking about. I know it's pretty popular in Argentina, so. Yeah, I mean that's the entry point for a lot of people. Use stable coins and then figure out how to get yield and DeFi and get into the ecosystem and try to work in it and help build it in the way that you think makes the most sense.
Along the 17th, 18th, and 19th century, if you look at what became the U.S. during that time, there was scams just in a rampant way. If you look at like paper towns, the Mississippi land scams, the Alabama land fever, just keeps on happening. And people dump their whole life savings into this stuff and they lose all their money. And why were they interested in investing in buttfuck nowhere, Alabama? Because there was an American promise, right? There was like, this is the land of opportunity, of abundance. This is the future in some fundamental way. And in some fundamental way, everyone who fell for those scams was correct. America was actually the future, right? A horrible amount of wealth, horrific amount of wealth got created out of America. And I think it's really worth taking seriously that it could have been a path of people looking at those scams and being like, you know what, maybe this America thing is not worth it. And thank God they didn't. So, yeah, that's my close.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.